What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. I've been seeing a lot of ghost types recently in the Open Great League, and I figured I wanted to try to shut them down today, so I'm going to use Furret, which in my opinion is one of the best anti-ghost types in the entire meta. This Pokemon has Sucker Punch, a super effective fast move into the ghost types, as well as resisting that ghost type damage thanks to its normal typing, so I think it's a fun pick to use. Let's get into the battles and see what Furret can do. First game of the day up against a good friend of mine, Mr. Maxi. Let's see what he's running, and not a great lead matchup. Honestly, our team is a little bit soft to Galarian Moltres, but we do have a lot of neutral play here because Shadow Caesar, while you do end up doing only resisted on your charge attacks, does quite a bit with these bullet punches as well. In comes the Night Slash. Our opponent almost certainly will let this go. They do realize that is going to be a resisted damage, and we do see a move instantly thrown by the Galarian Moltres. In comes the Fly that will get a shield from us here, and a Diggersby ends up coming in, a Pokemon that's not necessarily great to see for our Shadow Caesar, but I mean, quick attack damage doesn't do that much. Fire Punch will be able to one-shot us, but at this point, that would be pretty overkill for them to be able to throw that move, and they are overfarming quite a bit of energy here. I'm thinking there is a good chance that we can shield this move, maybe even swap back out to our Furret and save our Caesar for the backline. We do swap out here. Our opponent, though, does potentially reach another attack. It might be a Fire Punch, but I think it might be a Scorching Sands. It is going to be the heavier hitting move. No debuff. We are down 2 shields, but I have my Shadow Caesar with a move in the backline, and we see their final Pokemon is going to be Shadow Drapion. Honestly, not a lot of play this game for our Shadow Jumpluff. Keep in mind, at this point, though, Furret is still outside of Poison Sting downrange. I think we might get another move off if our opponent is a little bit greedy here. Swift is going to come through. All right, there is a little bit of a chance for us to win this game. We know we did chip down that Galarian Moltres a little bit as well with our Shadow Caesar. They still can't farm us down. In comes an Aqua Tail to knock us out. This will be a close endgame, but I think it is very winnable. They can never Poison Sting us down on our Shadow Caesar here with that Drapion, and we actually see an instant swap out here to the Galarian Moltres. Honestly, at this point, if they shield this move up, I can go for the combo play with the Night Slash that we have loaded in the backline, so they know they have to no-shield. I think we might have this game at this point, a very tricky matchup, but all I have to do is no-shield. I don't have any shields obviously remaining, but I just need to get to either an Aerial Ace here or force all of the energy out. Now I can Bullet Punch this Shadow Drapion all the way down, and I think we should be able to win this unless they can reach an Aqua Tail. But they dump all their energy there. They're not anywhere near another move, so we're able to take the win there. GG to our opponent. Very tricky game number 1. Next game, a Galarian lead, one of the best lead matchups you could possibly see here. Furret is one of the best anti-ghosts in the game. Although, here comes an interesting save swap, a Pokemon we don't have a ton of play into. You might be wondering why I'm going for a Trailblaze rather than the Swift, saying this is so incredibly resisted by the Bug and Steel type, but that's mainly because it does boost my attack up just a little bit here, meaning that the Rock Tomb debuffs aren't going to impact us quite as much. Sucker Punch will add up more against this Pokemon. In comes a Rock Tomb, though, to lower my own attack, and that's not amazing because we do survive, but we are in Bug Bite downrange. Forretress putting in a lot of work here into this team. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have stayed in this long. Now down goes our Pokemon there, and I think Shadow Caesar is not going to be able to easily Bullet Punch this thing all the way down, at least not before they get to another attack. In comes a move, probably going to be a Rock Tomb being thrown into us here. It will likely draw our shield. That would have basically knocked us out if we would have let it go. Shadow Caesar is going to try its best here to win this game. In comes that Galarian, actually, which is good to see. I have a lot of Night Slash energy loaded right now. In comes our first Night Slash. Our opponent will opt to shield, even though we are debuffed. I'm going to try to come in with our Shadow Jumpluff and get something done. In the backline is a Carbink. Honestly, though, not the worst case scenario, saying we do have access to Energy Ball. This is a super effective charge attack here. I'm trying out Energy Ball over Acrobatics just to have a bit more play into some of the ground types, as well as potentially, I guess, Carbink, if that is a common pick to see. In comes another attack, a Power Gem or a Rock Slide. It is Power Gem, a little bit more expensive here for our opponent, so potentially I can get to 2 Energy Balls against this pick before they can end up knocking us out. In comes the charge move. This will get the knockout if they let it go, but I know Galarian at this point might be able to knock us out with a Shadow Punch. We had the Aerial Ace loaded, but if we threw that, they could just overfarm against us, so we do try to overfarm for the Energy Ball, but they knock us out, which means at this point, unless I can farm this all the way down or somehow get to another Night Slash, they might just be able to win this game. In comes the Mud Slap down here, and unfortunately Shadow Caesar is not able to survive. Well played to our opponent. That Forretress put in way too much work against us. Next game, another kind of tricky lead matchup, but honestly, we do have some play here. We have the ability to kind of chip and dip this with Furret if we need to, expecting an instant crunch, and that is exactly what ends up happening. After landing the Swift, though, they're in range where I can either Bullet Punch them down with our Shadow Caesar, or potentially in the backline go for an Aerial Ace with our Shadow Jumpluff to finish off this Pokemon. So honestly, while this is a bit of an annoying matchup in the lead, we can dance around it, and that's what I'm going to try to do. In comes Shadow Caesar. They don't swap out just yet. In fact, they're going to throw an Aqua Tail into us. That wasn't even crunch energy, but I know at this point I do need to use my shields on my Shadow Drapion, or my Shadow Caesar, that is, or else I'm going to get completely farmed down by whatever they might have in the backline. In comes a Moltres, and while I am throwing resisted moves into it here, they know at this point that if they don't shield, I can do so much damage to them, probably farm them down all the way if I just shielded once. They did shield that Trailblaze, but my Bullet Punches are still going to be single stage boosted. I'm going to go for another Trailblaze here, boost my attack up another stage. If they let this go down, then I'm going to have a double boosted Scizor into the backline. Our opponent does shield, so now Scizor, while not in a great matchup here, is still able to get a simul KO, get the both shields from that Moltres, and I think at this point, as long as Jumpluff has play in the backline, we should be able to win this game. And in fact, we do see a very good matchup for us here. It's going to be a Azumarill in the backline, a Pokemon that we have Energy Ball for. Honestly, Acrobatics is probably good enough to win us this game too, but Energy Ball gets a clean 2-shot. Just watch for a catch coming through here in just a second. Our opponent almost certainly is going to catch here in just a second after this move is going to come through. Ice Beam not quite enough to one-shot. We do see that they're waiting. In comes that Shadow Drapion. We just farm it all the way down, and now Energy Ball should be more than enough to finish off the game. They end up top-lefting. GG to our opponent. Next game, very cool Pokemon to see here. Tried this out earlier on in the Great League rotation. Honestly, Regidrago is a pretty good Pokemon. A 1500 CP one here from our opponent. We know they have Dragon Energy and Breaking Swipe as their charge moves. So if they throw a Dragon Energy, we basically get one shot. If they go for a Breaking Swipe, we might get an attack debuff, which means this is going to be a tricky call to make. Do they go for the bait, or do they full send the nuke? I shield our opponent, does full send, so a good shield by us. It's going to come down, though, to what they might have in the backline to see if that is, in fact, a good play to go down shields. Swift coming through, our opponent does have shields remaining, but they do opt to let it go. They are fine with the shield advantage here. In comes a Diggersby, a Pokemon that we do have our Shadow Jumpluff for in the backline, and if we can avoid our Shadow Scizor into that, that should be good for us here. But saying it was a Regidrago lead, I don't know how much play our Scizor is going to have later on in this game. They go for a Fire Punch to knock us out. Our Jumpluff can easily come in and go for Energy Balls into this Pokemon, and I'm just hoping whatever's in the backline, our Shadow Scizor can at least do something against. In comes the opposing Shadow Scizor here, and unfortunately for us, we know Aerial Ace is not going to one-shot them, but if they do let it go, I think I might be able to Bullet Punch down. They shield because at this point they don't know what I have in the backline. Honestly, a good shield by them, but I think the play is very obvious at this point. No shield and Night Slash. I do survive this move, get their final shield with my Night Slash, then go for an Aerial Ace against this Pokemon, an Energy Ball against that Diggersby, and there might still be a chance we can win this game. Night Slash draws that shield. Our opponent does fully farm us down here, but Jumpluff should be able to go for the Aerial Ace in just a second. In comes a Night Slash. I can't shield this up. It might boost their attack stat, and they likely do get to a second one. In comes that Night Slash here. Our Jumpluff is pretty low on HP. They try to catch an Aerial Ace, which means now instead I'm going to go for the Energy Ball. I can go on a CMP on the next move here against that Scizor. We still have a shield remaining, and we should be able to win this match. In comes the Aerial Ace. This Scizor trying to Bullet Punch us down, but Shadow Jumpluff just a little bit too bulky here, able to reach the Aerial Ace, knock out this Bug-type Pokemon. Very close endgame, but GG to our opponent, just barely able to take the win against them. Next game, another Shadow Drapion. All right, we've seen this lead is not amazing for us in the past, but honestly not as bad as it possibly could be here. Swift is going to be once again thrown on CMP. Furret, I believe, can win this CMP, but because Shadow Drapion generally has a bit of attack on it here, obviously I'm not expecting to win that charge move priority. In comes our Swift. We got debuffed by that Crunch. Not going to matter, though, because I'm always going to swap, even if they didn't debuff us here, because I want to get that Bullet Punch damage into them. Once again, they go for a Chip and Dip with just an Aqua Tail. I will shield this attack up. Aqua Tail does end up getting the bait on us there, but now Diggersby comes in, and we've seen this before, right? I mean, this is not a great matchup for us, but because we do have access to Trailblaze, in fact, they let that move go, which is kind of surprising to me. I'm going to be able to now shield this up, swap out potentially before they get to another Fire Punch, and keep our Shadow Scizor very healthy and with a decent amount of energy. In comes a Bullet Punch damage, not quite enough to knock them out here before they get the next Fire Punch. I'm going to throw this Night Slash to desync the switch clock just a little bit, and now Furret can come back in, maybe catch a move here if we want to, and our opponent going for an attack, likely a Fire Punch into our Furret. In comes a move, a huge undercharge. Man, okay, interesting. Honestly, probably a good play by them going for that undercharge. The energy lead on Wigglytuff is honestly going to be a little bit tricky to overcome here because our Shadow Scizor is such a squishy Pokemon. I can't really come in with that right now. If I do, a Swift plus the Charms might knock us out, and then our Jumpluff would take an Icy Wind later on in the game. So what I'm going to do instead, it might be a crazy play, but I'm going to bring in our Shadow Jumpluff immediately here, make them throw an Icy Wind into us, dump all of their energy, and now Shadow Scizor in the backline should be able to close out this game. In comes an Energy Ball. We want to guarantee a shield from them if we can at this point, but honestly, either way, it doesn't really matter. We can farm them all the way down with our Shadow Bullet Punches, and now we can farm down the rest of their backline too. They realize not much that Shadow Scizor can't beat in the back, and we can take the win there. GG to our opponent. Next game, Shadow Annihilate. All right, not my favorite lead matchup here, but Shadow Scizor is going to try its best on the save swap. We have a Night Slash already loaded. If we get a boost, this makes this matchup very good. If we don't boost, they can just shield once and farm us all the way down, which is never amazing. Down goes our Shadow Scizor, but we have done quite a bit of damage to this Pokemon. At this point, Ice Punch will likely be thrown into our Shadow Jumpluff when we bring it in. Our opponent is thinking for just a second here. In comes a charge attack. Ice Punch would almost one-shot his Shadow into Shadow, so I will shield the attack, and now our opponent might get to another move. That's a little bit awkward. They come in instantly with an Alolan Sandslash running Powder Snow as well. Not what I want to see. This Pokemon is a huge problem for not only my Jumpluff, but also for my Furret. My Fast Move pressure here is going to add up, but I only have resisted charge attacks into this Pokemon. I can survive one move, but the second will likely knock us out. In comes an attack here. Drill Run does a little bit more raw damage, so a smart play by our opponent. Trailblaze coming through on a CMP with an Ice Punch. I think this is not going to get a shield. Our opponent, yeah, they realize there's really no reason to shield that attack up here. In comes their next attack. I do have to shield myself once again. If I don't, how am I going to take this Pokemon out? Interesting play. They come in with the Shadow Annihilate, but maybe to get that extra counter damage into us. A card back in the back, though. Not much that we can really do there. Unfortunately for us, GG to our opponent. Next game, Dusknoir in the lead. Much better lead matchup here. A better ghost type to see with our Furret. Our opponent likely will swap out. And we do see the instant switch into a Lapras. Honestly, a little bit of a sloppy play by me here. I should have instantly swapped myself into our Shadow Scizor. But honestly, this is also kind of fine. I can build up energy, now come in with our own Shadow Scizor, and get to back-to-back Night Slashes. Maybe shield up a Sparkling Aria to make sure that I can keep switch advantage in this game, knowing that if they do come back in with that Shadow Dusknoir, a Night Slash will nearly one-shot. In comes the first charge move by our opponent here. They're not going to get another move before I can get to 2 Night Slashes. If they want to shield once, they have to shield twice. And if they don't shield at all, that means I knock them out. I still have energy for the backline. No boost, unfortunately, for us just yet. Our opponent is thinking who they want to bring in. Dusknoir likely going to be brought in just because they know how useless it might be against our normal type. In comes that Dusknoir, as we did think, and Night Slash will draw the first shield from our opponent. We get the boost this time. These Sucker Punches, or rather these Bullet Punches, doing quite a bit of damage into them. Night Slash number 2 will probably draw the next shield, honestly, at this point. Yeah, we get both shields. Our opponent calls that I'm going to try to snap him down with the Trailblaze. Unfortunately, they come in with the Shadow Jumpluff, but I think at this point, it is game over for them. Swift is going to end up doing quite a bit of damage into our opponent. Swift number 2 already is going to be reached, and our Shadow Jumpluff at this point only needs to reach 2 Aerial Aces, one for this Pokemon, one for that Dusknoir, to be able to win this match. In fact, our opponent might have misplayed just a little bit here in this game. They ended up throwing a little bit too late. And now I can shield this up, go for another Swift on my Furret, which means this either knocks out this Jumpluff or puts them just into Fairy Wind farm down range. In comes the attack, down goes the Shadow Jumpluff, and Dusknoir doesn't even see our third Pokemon there. They know it's not going to be a good matchup. GG to our opponent. Next game, Araquanid. All right, very tricky Pokemon here for our whole team. Honestly, well, Shadow Jumpluff has a lot of play into this pick, but I would assume if they have this thing in the lead, the backline matchup is not going to be all too kind for our Flying-type Pokemon. In comes a Trailblaze to counteract potential Bubble Beams they might throw. There is a Bubble Beam being thrown right now. It will lower my attack stat, but the actual raw damage of this move is very low. We can survive the attack here, go for another attack of our own in just a second. I'm once again going to throw the Trailblaze to get as much damage against them as I can. In comes the attack. Our opponent likely will let this go. Araquanid, well known for its bulk. And now, while they will reach a Water Pulse here to knock us out, we have chipped this Pokemon down quite a bit. I think we can farm this down with either our Shadow Scizor or even potentially with our Jumpluff. I think, though, that Shadow Scizor energy might be just a little bit more important. Our opponent does not reach a second move, which is very nice to see. What is in the backline? Do they have another answer here for our Pokemon? I guess they might. I don't like seeing this pick here. It's going to be the Scizor into Steelix matchup. They are the non-Shadow Steelix as well, which means they're not going to take anywhere near as much damage as I would like to be dealing to them. These neutral fast move pressure attacks are also doing a lot to us. In comes the Psychic Fangs to make it so they do even more. And now Night Slash, while I am at +1, is still not going to be enough to knock out, but they might even just shield this. And at this point, if they do shield, I don't know how I'm going to knock them out. They let it go, and honestly, at this point, it's still very awkward. I have to try to Fairy Wind down a Steelix if I want to have any play. I have to hope that their ABA weak to Jumpluff in this game. Is it going to be possible? Maybe. Our opponent actually brings in a Diggersby. Not the worst Pokemon to see, but my defense is going to be at -1 thanks to that Psychic Fangs that came through earlier. In comes our Aerial Ace bait. Our opponent does opt to shield, which I guess is good for us here. I'm not going to bait 2 times in a row. There's a chance now that they got sick of my shenanigans. They might go for the no shield on this next attack. No, they do shield, unfortunately for us here, which means I guess I should have gone for the double bait. Hopefully that's not going to matter here in the end game. I can always try to make a catch on our Shadow Scizor at some point. If we can catch a Fire Punch, we probably can win this game. But at this point, if our opponent ever lands one, we're going to be deep into the red. Our opponent does not end up falling for that catch. And now, while we did clear our debuff, this is going to be so awkward. They have so much energy on this Diggersby. Energy Ball, not going to be quite enough damage to one-shot them from this range. And they're at so many Fire Punches here. They're already at 2 and just 3 more Quick Attacks away from the third, which means I don't think we have a lot of play. That Steelix is still around in the backline as well. In comes the next attack. Fire Punch is going to land, putting us deep into the red. We have an ace. Of course, they make a catch just to add insult to injury. I don't really think that would have mattered. I think the Thunder Fangs and the Steelix could have knocked us out anyway, but because they make that catch here, they can just Quick Attack us down. Well played to our opponent. GG's. Next game, Furret up against a Mandibuzz. All right, another bit of an awkward lead matchup here, But while we are doing a resisted fast move with Sucker Punch into the opposing dark type, we do still have some play here, right? It is adding up over time. Our opponent is building up a lot of energy, but so are we. And I'm thinking now, I'm going to swap out to our Shadow Caesar here to try to do as much as we can into this Pokemon. While our Jumpluff is weak to flying type damage, we also have Fairy Wind against that Mandibuzz later on, so it might not be the worst case scenario. We end up seeing a Shadow Marowak come in here, which is a very interesting Pokemon to see. I have Night Slash number 1 already loaded. I have Night Slash number 2 that we can reach before they even throw a charge attack against us. If they end up letting this go, then I'm going to be able to farm them down. If they shield this attack, then I can go for a Trailblaze, potentially with our Furret. In comes a move here from our opponent. This is going to knock us out. Bone Club obviously going to be thrown. I can Fairy Wind this down, though, with our Shadow Jumpluff. Maybe not even take a Rock Slide for our troubles. So as long as that Mandibuzz is the best counter here to Jumpluff, we're in a good spot. Unfortunately for us, that is not the case. It's going to be a very tricky Pokemon for our backline to see. It is going to be this Cradily. As it is super effective into us here, and because we are going to swap out to our Furret, there's a chance they might go for a Rock Tomb to mitigate our attack boost that our Trailblaze end up giving. In comes the next attack from our opponent. Our attack has been boosted by 1 stage. Rock Tomb, though, going to lower right back down. In comes the attack. We do shield the move up here. Our opponent also instantly swaps right back out to Mandibuzz, and this game is going to be a very tricky one to try to win. We have some energy in the backline on our Shadow Jumpluff. We might be able to chip down this Mandibuzz at least enough to put them into Aerial Ace range as well, which could be good, but this is still not going to be a great situation. Mandibuzz has a lot of HP remaining. That Cradily as well is going to potentially be able to put in work in the backline. I am going to shield this move. It might be a bold play to make, but I might try to attempt a full Fairy Wind down against this Mandibuzz. While we are taking super effective flying type damage from this Mandibuzz, it's a very bulky Pokemon here, and we have to keep in mind that Mandibuzz is not going to have a very good flying type charge attack to throw into us. Aerial Ace is a very weak move. We might be running it ourselves on Shadow Jumpluff, but we can see here when it comes into us, it's not even going to put us deep into the red. We can survive the attack, go for an Energy Ball. If we need to, we have an Aerial Ace loaded as well to finish off this Pokemon. In comes the first attack. They go deep into the red. In comes our Aerial Ace, and now as long as we can Fairy Wind down the rest of that Mandibuzz, we might be able to win this game. In comes the ace, down goes the Cradily. How much HP is on that Mandy? Not enough here. Just barely able to Fairy Wind down and take the win. Super close match. GG to our opponent. All right, next game. Another tricky lead scenario here, but I think it is still playable. We have access to Sucker Punch, which is neutral into the Alolan Sandslash, as well as Trailblaze, which can ramp up our damage. Our opponent throws right on CMP on 7 of these Powder Snows. In comes a Drill Run. Does do just a little bit more raw damage, but this Trailblaze will follow very shortly after. Our opponent is going to go for a shield on a Trailblaze. Maybe they thought I had Brick Break or something. I'm not even sure at this point. We go for the next Swift here. Our opponent does throw on CMP, but at this point, we've done so much work into this Pokemon. We got a shield advantage as well with a resisted Trailblaze. There's no real reason for me to shield that up. I can come in, maybe shield one's farm down, or I guess if they come in with a Feraligatr here, I can go for a catch on our Shadow Jumpluff and potentially put ourselves in a very good position. In comes the Hydro Cannon right now. Our opponent is not going to be too happy they threw this move. Most Feraligatrs do run Ice Beam, although I have seen a couple running Crunch recently. In comes the next attack by our opponent. I'm going to call that this is an Ice Beam here just to play it safe. Our opponent going for the Hydro Cannon bait once again. Honestly, that means they might be running Crunch as their next move. I don't know, though. I don't really want to take that risk, at least not just yet. In comes our Energy Ball. Down goes the Feraligatr. We have a lot of energy on our Shadow Caesar in the backline. This Alolan Sandslash comes right back in. Maybe I should have gone for the Aerial Ace because we lose CMP to this Pokemon, but by making them throw all of the energy here, now they have no more energy remaining for our Caesar. We can farm them down, and in the backline is a second Water-type Pokemon. It's actually going to be a Jellicent. Now this, while they do resist our Bullet Punch damage, is a very good matchup for Shadow Caesar. At least a Shadow Caesar with this much energy. We can go not only for 1 Night Slash, not just 2, but we have 3 loaded almost back to back to back. In comes the second one, we do draw that shield. In comes the third one here in just a second. At this point, our opponent does not have back-to-back surfs. Even if they did, they do not win CMP against the Shadow Caesar, and I can throw this move, farm down that A-Slash, our Shadow Caesar in the backline, putting in so much work. In comes the attack, down goes the Jellicent, and of course we get a useless boost here in the endgame. Love to waste my luck where it doesn't matter. GG there to our opponent. Next game, Furret into Dusclops. This is the lead we were talking about, the one Pokemon that we really want to target with this pick. We see a safe swap of a Jumpluff here. Honestly, I don't have a great counter swap into this Pokemon. I'm going to stay and go for a Swift here and see what our opponent wants to do. In comes the damage. Our opponent realizes that non-Shadow Jumpluff is a very bulky pick. No real reason to shield a Swift of all things, and we get a CMP on the next attack. I do want to see what their nuke move might be. They might be on both Energy Ball and Acrobatics, but either way here, if I do see an Acrobatics come through, I know that my Shadow Steelix will have to, or Shadow Caesar that is, will have to shield up the Acrobatics. It is going to be that heavy-hitting flying type charge move. I will shield just to play it safe. Might be an Aerial Ace bait as well if they do have that attack. Our opponent does bait us with the cheaper energy move, but at this point, they're only going to get to another one of those. We can survive the attack here, still get that full farm down, and go for Night Slashes if they do come back in with that Dusclops. In comes the Ace. We take a decent amount of HP on this Pokemon, but I think we're still in a pretty good spot here. Our opponent actually ends up coming in, interestingly enough, with the Shadow Annihilate. I don't understand this play too much by our opponent here because at this point, they have that Dusclops in the backline. They know I have a Furret. Was that a boost as well? I hope it was. I would love getting boosts on Shadow Scizor. In comes the Night Slash. We land. Yeah, that was definitely a boosted move there. Does so much damage into that Pokemon, and Dusclops does come back in to farm us down. But honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, this is going to be a little bit trickier than I'd like it to be. Them fully sacking that Pokemon there is actually a bit of a heads-up play by our opponent. If they end up no-shielding our Trailblaze, they could put in some work into us here by maybe going for an Ice Punch into our Furret, and maybe double Ice Punch could be enough to knock out our Shadow Jumpluff. In comes our Trailblaze. Our opponent does end up no-shielding it here. I go for a couple more Sucker Punches. This is going to be so tricky. Can they end up going for 2 Ice Punches before we can get to 2 Aerial Aces? Honestly, I think they can. But the real question is, will they survive the Fast Food Pressure to actually make it in time? I think right now they might be 1 or 2 hexes away. I think that would be 2 hexes actually away from the next Ice Punch. So if 3 Fairy Winds are enough, we can win the game. Just barely. We do get that farm down. Very well played by our opponent there. They sacked the Annihilate, and they almost still got a sweep here with that Dusclops. But Furret and Shadow Jumpluff able to close out that game. And as you can see, they're just about 2 points gained for that 3-2. Don't love to see that. Climbing is so hard right now. I don't know why it's still so tricky. We're over a month into the season, and yet people are still not in the 2800s. It's kind of crazy to me, but I guess at this point, just have to keep going. Hopefully in the next couple of days, maybe next week or 2, I'll be able to reach Legend here. So stay tuned for that if you want to see it. But thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.